Cassandra Way had spent 3 years as a maintenance engineer on Harmony Station without any major incidents. Her job involved keeping the environmental systems functioning in the sprawling space station that served as the primary diplomatic hub between humanity and 7 alien species. The work was technical, predictable, and blessedly free of political complications. Until today, it's just being polite. Cassandra explained for what felt like the 100th time. She stood in Station Director Hammond's office facing 3 stern-faced officials, Hammond himself, his security chief, and a nervous-looking xenolinguistic specialist. Unfortunately, Ambassador Neldor didn't interpret it that way. Director Hammond replied, his weathered face creased with concern. To the Sepharans, touching your right wrist while bowing is their formal proposal of lifelong partnership. Cassandra closed her eyes, recalling the moment. The ambassador, tall, with iridescent blue-green skin and those distinctive ridged features, had been inspecting the newly renovated diplomatic wing. She'd been fixing a temperature regulator when she'd accidentally bumped into him, embarrassed. She'd made what she thought was a respectful gesture. "How was I supposed to know?" she asked, frustration mounting. "I was just trying to apologize for almost dropping my toolkit on his feet." Dr. Winters, the xenolinguistic specialist, cleared his throat. "The cultural briefing on Sepharan customs was distributed station-wide last month. I was on leave visiting my mother on Mars," Cassandra countered. "Besides, shouldn't their diplomats be trained to recognize cultural differences?" "The Sepharons believe intent is irrelevant when it comes to formal gestures," Dr. Winters explained. "Once made, the gesture itself is binding regardless of whether you understood its significance." Security Chief Okafor, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. "What matters is that Ambassador Neldor has accepted your proposal publicly in front of 3 other species representatives." Cassandra felt a chill run down her spine. "So what happens now?" "That's what we need to discuss," Hammond said, his tone softening slightly. Refusing at this point would create a serious diplomatic incident. The Sepharans consider a withdrawn proposal to be a grave insult, tantamount to declaring the other party unworthy of respect. "You can't be serious," Cassandra whispered. "You expect me to marry, or whatever they call it, an alien diplomat, because of a misunderstanding?" "The Sepharan Union controls 3 key transit routes to the Orion Arm," Hammond replied. "Colonies there depend on those routes. We spent 5 years negotiating access rights." Cassandra stared in disbelief. "And my accidental proposal could jeopardize all that?" "Yes," all 3 officials replied simultaneously. Before Cassandra could respond, the door chimed and slid open. Standing in the doorway was Ambassador Neldor himself, up close. Cassandra could see the intricate patterns on his skin that shifted, color with his breathing, currently a deep, serene blue. "Engineer Way," he said, his voice resonant with a musical quality human vocal cords couldn't replicate. "I am honored by your proposal. My household is preparing for the bonding ceremony." Cassandra opened her mouth, but no words came out. "Cultural liaison will assist you with preparations," Neldor continued. "The first trial of compatibility begins tomorrow." "Trial," Cassandra managed. 3 trials must be completed before our union is formalized," Neldor explained as though discussing the weather. "It is our way," his gaze, from eyes with vertical. Pupils surrounded by gold irises studied her with unexpected warmth. "I understand this may be overwhelming for you. Your gesture was surprising, but not unwelcome." After he departed, Cassandra turned to Hammond. "Trials. What have I gotten myself into?" "We're about to find out," Hammond replied. "Report to meeting room 7 at 0800 tomorrow. You'll meet Jared Blackwood, our Sepharon cultural specialist." As Cassandra left the office, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just veered dramatically off course with a single, well-intentioned gesture. Jared Blackwood wasn't what Cassandra expected. She'd imagined a stuffy academic type. But the cultural liaison was a former military officer, with an easy smile and practical approach. "The good news," Jared said, as they sat in the sterile meeting room, "is that Sepharons take these unions very seriously. They're not just political arrangements, but deeply meaningful partnerships." "That's the good news?" Cassandra rubbed her temples. "What's the bad news?" "Ambassador Neldor isn't just any diplomat. He's what they call a vanner, a strategic advisor to their high command. Essentially, you've accidentally proposed to one of their military elite. Cassandra groaned. Perfect. So I'm marrying the alien equivalent of a general. Not quite yet, Jared corrected, sliding a tablet toward her. First come the 3 trials of compatibility, designed to test whether you're truly suited. To be partners, the screen displayed elaborate Saffron script alongside human translations. Cassandra scanned the information, her engineering mind automatically searching for patterns and solutions. The first trial tests intellectual compatibility, Jared explained. The second evaluates ethical alignment, and the third examines physical and emotional resonance. And if I fail, the union is dissolved with no dishonor to either party. Cassandra perked up. So I could deliberately fail? Jared's expression turned serious. I wouldn't recommend that. Sephrons can detect deception through subtle pheromone changes. Deliberate failure would be considered malicious deception, a grave offense that could escalate tensions beyond your personal situation. Wonderful, Cassandra muttered. I just have to go through with it. Their conversation was interrupted when the door slid open. Ambassador Neldor entered, accompanied by a female Sephron whose skin displayed darker, more complex patterns. Engineer Wei, this is Tellera, my sister and house advisor. Neldor introduced. Tellera studied Cassandra with undisguised curiosity. You've caused quite a stir, human. Several factions are displeased with my brother's acceptance of your proposal. Tellera, Neldor said, a warning in his tone. She should know, Tellera insisted. General Vrax has already filed a formal protest with the High Command. He claims a human Sephron union undermines our cultural integrity. Cassandra glanced between them. I didn't intend to create political problems. Tension is irrelevant. Neldor replied, but his voice softened. The gesture was made and accepted. We now proceed according to tradition. Later, as Jared escorted Cassandra to her quarters, he shared more context. There's something you should understand. Neldor belongs to the progressive faction that favors closer human-Sephron relations. Vrex leads the traditionalists, who view humans as potential threats. So my mistake has political implications?
Potentially significant ones,
Jared confirmed. Your union could become symbolic of either successful integration or cultural contamination, depending on who's telling the story. That night, Cassandra couldn't sleep. Her quarters felt too small, the station's recycled air too stale. She found herself in the observation deck, staring at the stars. Trouble sleeping? Came a melodic voice behind her. She turned to find Neldor, his skin patterns glowing softly in the dimmed lighting. Wouldn't you be restless if you accidentally proposed to an alien and triggered an interspecies political crisis? She asked to her surprise. Neldor made a sound she recognized as laughter. When you express it that way, it does seem rather extraordinary, he admitted. For what it's worth, I find your directness refreshing. Cassandra studied him. Can I ask why you accepted my proposal? You must have known it was a mistake. Neldor's patterns shifted to a contemplative blue-violet. Sometimes, Engineer Wei, accidents create opportunities that intention never would. The first trial took place in a circular chamber decorated with symbols Cassandra couldn't decipher. 5 Sephron elders sat in a semicircle, their skin patterns pulsing in synchronization. The trial of minds begins, announced the central elder. Cassandra Wei, you will navigate the thought labyrinth alongside Neldor. Your minds must find harmony to succeed. Cassandra shot a panicked look at Jared, who stood near the entrance. It's a shared problem-solving exercise, he whispered. Follow Neldor's lead initially. Assistants placed neural interfaces on both their temples. The room faded away, replaced by what appeared to be a 3-dimensional maze composed of light and abstract concepts. Remarkable, Cassandra breathed, her engineering mind immediately analyzing the structure. We must navigate together, Neldor explained. Each junction requires complementary decisions. The next hour was the most intellectually challenging of Cassandra's life. The labyrinth wasn't just spatial but conceptual, requiring them to solve problems that bridged Sephron and human logic systems. To her surprise, she found herself anticipating Neldor's approaches, complementing his abstract reasoning with her practical problem-solving. When they emerged from the simulation, the elder's patterns glowed with approval, unexpected harmony. The Central Elder declared, "The first trial is passed." The second trial came 3 days later. This time they stood before a different council in a chamber filled with mist that shifted colors with the emotional atmosphere. The trial of values will reveal whether your ethical cores can resonate, explained the lead counselor. You will face dilemmas that test your deepest principles. The scenarios they encountered were cunningly designed to highlight cultural differences. Cassandra struggled with Sephiran concepts of collective responsibility, while Nelder grappled with human individualism, yet in each scenario, they found compromises that honored both perspectives. During one particularly challenging ethical dilemma, Nelder surprised her by adopting a human viewpoint before she could suggest it. "You're learning our values," she whispered. "As you are learning ours," he replied. "That is the purpose." When they completed the final scenario, the council deliberated briefly before announcing their success. Later, in the station's arboretum, Cassandra found herself alone with Neldor among earth plants and Sephiran flora growing in surprising harmony. "I underestimated you," she admitted. "I thought you'd be more rigid." "And I expected less adaptability from you," Neldor replied, his pattern shifting to a warm orange that Cassandra had learned indicated pleasure. "Perhaps we were both imprisoned by our assumptions." "The third trial is tomorrow," she said, watching a Terran butterfly land on a saffron bloom. Its physical and emotional resonance. That sounds intimate. Our biochemistry, our emotional responses. He moved closer, and Cassandra felt an unexpected flutter in her chest. His scent, something like cinnamon and ozone, was becoming familiar, even pleasant. "I've been researching human customs," Nelder said softly. "In your traditions, partnerships often begin with attraction, then progress to commitment. Ours begin with commitment, which may develop into deeper connection." "And has it?" Cassandra asked, surprising herself with the question. "Developed into something more?" Nelder's patterns rippled with a color she hadn't seen before, a deep, vibrant magenta. "I find myself anticipating our interactions in a way I never expected," he admitted. When his hand, warm, its distinctive texture, gently touched hers, Cassandra didn't pull away. The third trial never began. Cassandra was awakened at 0300 hours by emergency lighting and Jared pounding on her door. "We need to move," he said the moment she let him in. "There's been an attempt on Neldor's life." "What?" Cassandra was instantly alert. "Is he?" "He's alive but injured. Talara got him to safety, but his quarters were compromised." As they hurried through maintenance corridors, Jared filled her in. "Preliminary evidence points to General Frax's operatives. They're calling the attack a preventative security measure against human contamination. They tried to kill him because of me." Horror washed over Cassandra. "Not exactly. We believe they've been planning this for months. Your union with Neldor just provided convenient timing and a potential scapegoat." They arrived at a secure medical bay in the human section of the station. Nelder lay on a specially adapted bed, his normally vibrant skin dulled to a pale blue. Telero stood guard nearby, a weapon visible at her side. "Cassandra," Nelder said weakly when he saw her. "Shouldn't be here. It's dangerous." She moved to his side instinctively. "What happened?" Poison Teller answered. "That leaves Sephiran nervous systems intact, but paralyzes respiratory functions. Had I arrived minutes later..." Cassandra turned to Jared. "I don't understand. How does attacking Neldor benefit General Vrax?" "It's not just about Neldor," came a new voice. Station Director Hammond entered, looking grim. "We've intercepted communication suggesting a coordinated plan. The attack on Neldor is just the beginning. They intend to frame humans for the assassination," Tellera explained. "Creating pretext for military action against your colonies near Sephiran space. And our union threatened this plan," Nelder added, struggling to sit up. "A formal partnership between a human and a high-ranking Sephiran would make such conflict politically difficult." Cassandra processed this, her mind racing. "So our accidental engagement actually prevented a war?" "Temporarily," Hammond said. "But now Vrax's faction is moving to eliminate the obstacle." "We need evidence," Cassandra said, her engineering problem-solving instincts taking over. Something concrete linking Vrax to the assassination attempt and the larger conspiracy.
Alaris?
Pattern shifted to what Cassandra now recognized as determination. There is a way. Varax's command codes are transmitted through a specific encryption sequence. If we could access a terminal with his authorization pattern, I might be able to help with that, Cassandra said slowly. The environmental systems I maintain require security clearance for all diplomatic quarters, including those assigned to Vrax's delegation. Jared looked alarmed. You're suggesting breaking into a Sephron general's quarters? That's suicide. Not if we create a diversion, Hammond interjected. Something to draw his security detail away temporarily. They spent the next hour planning. Cassandra would use her maintenance access to enter Vrax's quarters during a staged environmental emergency. Tellera would guide her through Sephron systems remotely as they prepared to implement their plan. Nelder caught Cassandra's hand. Why risk yourself for this? He asked quietly. You could simply return to your normal life, Cassandra surprised herself with her answer. Somewhere between proposal and politics, I started caring about what happens to you. To us. The admission hung between them, unexpected but honest. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from 12 species sat in tiered seating around a central podium where evidence was being presented. Cassandra felt distinctly out of place in formal diplomatic attire, but Nelder's reassuring presence beside her helped steady her nerves. The evidence obtained from General Vrax's personal terminals is conclusive, the Council Arbiter announced. Communications detailing plans to assassinate Ambassador Neldor and fabricate human involvement have been authenticated. On the display screens, damning messages scrolled, the results of Cassandra's risky infiltration 3 days earlier. She had successfully accessed Vrax's systems, using her environmental override codes. Downloading evidence of his conspiracy while station security created a diversion with a harmless but convincing coolant leak. Vrax himself sat rigidly across the chamber, his skin patterns betraying fury despite his controlled expression. This council finds General Vrax guilty of conspiracy against the peace, the Arbiter continued. His actions represent a violation of both Sephron honor codes and Galactic Accords. As the formal proceedings concluded, Cassandra felt a weight lifting. The past 3 weeks had transformed her life in ways she could never have imagined when she'd made that fateful gesture. Later, in a quiet observation lounge overlooking the glittering expanse of the Cassiopeia arm, Neldor joined her. The High Command has recalled Vrax and his supporters, he informed her. They've also formally requested that I continue my diplomatic mission here. That's good news, Cassandra said, turning to face him. So what happens with us now? The trials were interrupted. Does that invalidate our ... arrangement? Patterns shifted through several colors before settling on the deep magenta she'd come to recognize as affection. According to tradition, extraordinary circumstances allow for alternative validation of compatibility, he explained. Our cooperation in exposing the conspiracy demonstrated harmony of minds, values and purpose far more effectively than any formal trial. So we're still technically engaged? Cassandra asked. Yes, Nelder confirmed. However, I recognize that our union began with misunderstanding. If you wish to withdraw, the exceptional circumstances would allow it without dishonor. Cassandra looked out at the stars, considering 3 weeks ago she would have jumped at the chance to extract herself from this situation. Now she wasn't so certain. When I made that gesture, I had no idea what I was getting into, she said slowly. But sometimes accidents create opportunities that intention never would. She smiled at Neldor's recognition of his own words. You suggesting, he began. I'm suggesting we see where this goes, Cassandra interrupted. Not because of politics or tradition or obligation, but because I've grown to respect you, to care about you. That seems like a better foundation for a partnership than most people get. Nelder's patterns rippled with joy. The Sephron word for partner Tirati translates roughly as one who walks beside me through unknown stars. I would be honored to explore those unknowns with you, Cassandra Way. As his hand found hers, Cassandra reflected on how a simple gesture of apology had cascaded into interstellar politics, assassination attempts, and now, improbably, the beginning of something genuine. I still think we should have some kind of human ceremony too, she said with a smile. My mother would never forgive me if she didn't get to see me married properly. I looked forward to learning that tradition as well, Nelda replied. Together they watched a passing starship leave trails of light against the darkness, a fitting metaphor, Cassandra thought, for the unexpected journey they had begun together.